Alan Wake is kind of an asshole. I don't like his attitude. He's a smirky. He's Dan Brown. He's everything I imagine Dan Brown is.
See, that's why I think it's okay that the writing isn't as good as what I was hoping it to be. Max Payne had really terrible, goofy metaphors and dialogue, but that actually was Sam Lake parodying how badly a hard-boiled detective story would be written. And Max Payne, actually, I realized, like, yeah, he's kind of parodying, like, this is what a popular author who wants to be a new Stephen King would read like.
This is an instance where I think you could have brought in a big name, like Stephen King, and if he had actually written the narrative for this, if he had provided those manuscript pages, this would have been an infinitely greater game.
I had to figure a way out of this. Any second now, and Stucky would be knocking on the door with his axe like Nicholson in The Shining.
I found it interesting how much it holds your hand. Like, in most horror games, it seems like, intentionally or not, they kind of make you struggle a little bit to figure out what's going on and kind of, find your way around. And this game, at no point was I ever stuck, or did I ever not know how to get through the area.
I think that's somewhat just a reflection of games in general nowadays, because they're a lot more like kind of care bearers. Whether there's a mini map that says go this way, or you're always told like there's a really bright light, you're always working towards a bright light no matter what scenario you're in. It kind of gives it a nice guided pathway without being too condescending. It's not as big, it's not as condescending as say like the breadcrumb trail of Fable. The linear structure and the way it feels, it simply is a reminder that, because I guess at some point Remedy was entertaining the idea of making it like an open world sandboxing game.
Yeah.
That might have been very early on, but you can tell that no, this is another game for the guys who made Max Payne 1 and 2. It is another thing where the mechanics of Max Payne was about shooting and dodging bullets, and this time it's about shooting and using light.
I really like the mechanic of the flashlight and the gun because, they don't have to throw thousands of enemies at you to make you feel like, oh shit, stuff's going down, because you have to like light people up for, 5 seconds or whatever before you can actually shoot them.
Yeah, so I like the light mechanic in that it introduces, like, there's your typical things you find in the shooter game, like there's your pistol, your rifle, your shotgun, and then the way they have the rest of it translate, like flashbangs, which are normally a crowd control stunning device in other games, that's like one of the most lethal things because it's a really bright light that hits the area around. The flare gun
is a rocket launcher.
Yeah, the flare gun is like, this is the best use of a flare gun I've seen in the game because it has really nice feedback, like the way the smoke and the plumes and light sputter all around you, and just the way that when you fire a flare gun at the right angle, you hit a whole bunch of guys and the bright light just makes 3 guys disintegrate at once. It is like one of the most satisfying uses of a normal thing since, like, I would say, swinging a crowbar in Half-Life.
It's just a good-looking world. Like, you have the darkness surrounding you in the forest. I think the forest got a little old. Like,
just because you're outside in the dark a lot. Yeah.
I would say generally it's good looking, but I do think at night is remarkably better than at daytime, because there are times where, I guess because of night is like it's shadowy and foggy. At night, the game looks phenomenal at night. But there are some parts of the daytime, I think the shadows look all like janky looking. I'm like, okay guys, like let's just get this daytime over, because when you're at night, that's when the game completely excels at.
Liars! Patience! The engine! Isn't easy and fatal! Big force!
As good as the world looks, as good as the effects were when you see the darkness coming upon you, like some of that was really, really cool looking, but the people always looked like absolute crap to me.
Okay, the people aren't, say, like an Uncharted or maybe even Heavy Rain, but they're certainly not something like in the Bethesda game or something like. To me, they weren't noticeably awesome or bad. There's like, okay, this is pretty serviceable. They could have been polished up, but it could have been a lot worse.
I think that's true with a lot of games. If you look like at the main characters, they're always in the screenshots. Yeah, they look great. But then if you look at like the secondary characters, people you're just shooting, a lot of times they kind of look like crap.
Even the main characters, like the lip syncing never ever matches up. Like that bugged me.
Makes it creepier. And I think part of it probably is because there was a lot of story, like, or at least a lot of cutscenes and a lot of story being told through, like, while you're walking around either with like a phone on your ear or just kind of walking and talking to people. Like they spent, I don't know how much time, but a lot of time in this game
They're
just telling you
Calm
story.
down, Mr. Wade.
We were staying in a cabin on the island, on Cauldron Lake.
There's no island on Cauldron Lake, not since the big eruption in the 70s.
Please, I can take you there, okay?
You look like you've taken a pretty bad knock to the head. Are you okay?
Listen,
We'll figure this out. Please get in the car. We'll swing by the lake and then we'll go to the station, okay? Mr. Wake, have you seen Stucky, the guy who owns this place?
I realized I couldn't tell her what had happened in the forest. She wouldn't have believed me.
So there will be some sort of episodic thing added to it. I do think ultimately this is a lot like Uncharted 1. I want to very specify Uncharted 1 for the PlayStation, but for the Xbox. That it's a really solid, well-made action adventure that I think has great potential. It kind of makes me hopeful that, you know, Max Payne was really good. Max Payne 2 is a much better version of Max Payne. So hopefully Alan Wake is a really good start for a game that's not just like Death Wish, but with bullet time.